Hello, this is video 6 of 10. I'm going to speak about December and Christmas, the month of December and Christmas time. And I call them incidences or stories. They're not very happy. The first one is about the smoke detector. A 9-year-old boy and a 41-year-old man died from carbon monoxide. There was no smoke detector in the house. In fact, the carbon monoxide came from the furnace, and there was 3,000 parts per million at the furnace. The smoke went on up into the house to the bedrooms, and that was 2,600 parts per million. This was 9 o'clock in the morning, and it was the 8th of December. Now, if they had had a smoke detector, all they needed was 30 parts per million to have that smoke detector activate. Like this.
Fire, fire. Warning, carbon monoxide.
Now it's finished. What did that cost? About $40? Maybe $50? Don't get careless. I told you it takes only 30 parts per million for the smoke detector to activate. And you know what happens if you do breathe carbon monoxide? It's like this. Yeah, you're dead. That's true. Last year in Massachusetts, we had over 15,000 calls for carbon monoxide fumes in their homes. There are over 5,000 calls for gas odors. This is December. This is from the police blotter. 16 people in 13 apartments were displaced because the carbon monoxide fumes were in the building. A 27-year-old man died. Carbon monoxide. Christmas time, back when I was working, it was 2:30 a.m. in the morning. 6 children died and 2 adults. What happened is the department, as the fire equipment was responding to the fire, they passed a woman sitting on the curb, and she was doing this. The bathrobe on. She had been in the building and she got out. I remember, I'm going to give you some fires. These are simulated of what they may have been like at that time. This is the past, but you read it many, many times during Christmas time. You'll see that you'll hear about tragedies, which we did this year about a tragedy, Christmas time. Here's another picture. This is a BFW picture, Boston Fire Department picture. Now, when we have a fire like that, and it's a family, and it's at night naturally, we're going to throw as many ladders as possible to ventilate the smoke out of the building and do search and rescue. Now, this particular, take a look at this one right here. Now, I came on duty that morning and I spoke with this particular man at that time. He stepped into the room. There was no smoke in the room, he said. He looked around and there was a bed and there were 3 small children, looked like angels, all asleep. Yeah, it was carbon monoxide. During the rest of the time, they found the other 5 buildings, the other 5 people in the building. Very, very sad. By the way, let me get back to this picture here for you. This picture, this was from the internet. And this is a fire that was up in Portland, Maine. I think it was 2014. Might have been 2015. It was Halloween and there was a fire. It was on the second floor. A man leaped out a window and 5 others were burned to death. And 8 or 9 people on the first floor were taken to the hospital with burns. There were a lot of students in that building. They had had issues for quite a while with that building. I don't know what happened. Here's another incident. This is a Bunker Hill. They had a fire at the 17th of December this year. The Bunker Hill is where you have the monument where there was the first fight on Bunker Hill, called Breed's Hill. And 25 people were displaced. This is December the 17th, 6:45 in the morning. And there was a fire all across the top floor, and the roof went, and the rear wall they thought was going to crash. Everything was frozen. Everything turned to ice. It was very difficult fighting that fire. This was at 6:45 in the morning. And something like a number of other, you can look at this. There were a number of other adjoining buildings that were burned and suffered smoke damage. This is a building I want to show you a second. This was Christmas Day. It's in the north end, but it's in Boston. And this particular building, I don't know if you ever saw the movie The Town. Well, this is the building, and it was on the bottom floor there. I guess the fire started in the laundromat, and it went on up through the building. There was an awful lot of people displaced in that building. And they got to the point where they couldn't save the building, and they used these streams. These are called deck gun streams. What it is surround and drown. And a number of other buildings were involved with smoke and water damage. They lost their homes. Here we have a fire in the local town. Number of people, I call this the ball of fire. 4 people died. We have an awful lot of buildings, I noticed lately. You read in the paper, you have a ball of fire. And what is that? What's the problem for that? It's the contents in the buildings that burn. And there were 4 kids died. 4 people died in that building. I'd like to tell you about Christmas time. A lot of the Christmas trees that you have been cut down in August in Canada. They put it into cold storage. Then they take them out and they're in your home. So what you should do right away is put them in a pail of water because they're already drying out. And I don't like lights on a tree. The wires I don't trust. They're old. They're just cheap imports. The way I look at them, I don't trust those lights on a tree. And always be careful with candles, will you? You have an awful lot of fires at Christmas time with candles. I want to show you something. Then we had this is around Christmas time, we had a call from our dispatcher, and the dispatcher said, we heard someone over the phone said, this was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There was 30 apartments. We went down there. We had to bang on doors. Finally, we found one door that opened up. We were calling, fire department, fire department. No one moved in that building. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and people are not home. So we hit the door, opened it up, and there on the floor, in the hallway, was a young man about 15. He had a nice white shirt and a pair of pants on and nice shiny shoes. In his hand, he was holding this tool. Yeah, this is called glue. Obviously, he had been sniffing the glue. A couple of the guys picked him up and started running him around, and said, because they checked a pulse, and they thought there was a pulse. While they were doing that, I looked into a bedroom, and I saw two young men in a bed, laying there, dressed in suits, a white tie, a white shirt, ties, shine shoes, like as if they were going to go somewhere. They jumped on the bed, they tried their pulse, but in each one of their hands, they were holding glue. Obviously, they had been sniffing it. At that time, I guess they were using the glue for drugs and so on. So I call that a drug overdose. It was very, very sad. I remember, very, very sad when I looked at it, and I called 3 ambulances. They had them on the floor. They were working on them. And they put something into their hearts. And suddenly, maybe about 10 minutes later, the door opened up and a woman came in. She starts to scream, "Oh my God, my God!" And she began to yell their name. "Paul, Bobby, John, what happened, what happened, what happened?" She went over, she's touching them on the floor. Now she's screaming and crying, and she said to the paramedic, "What's the matter, what's the matter?" He said, "Well, miss, we don't know, but we're going to take them to the hospital right now. Would you like to come along with us?" Now she's screaming, and I said to her, "Would you like me to call somebody so they could meet you at the hospital?" She said, "Oh, no, I want to go with my boys, I want to go with them." And the tears coming down. And they took her to the hospital. When I stood there and I said to myself, now, this is the first time I've ever seen a parent when their son or daughter is overdosed. I remember my first day on the job, very first, we went out to a drug overdose. And almost 30 years later, I had a night tour, so this is about 3 or 4 in the morning, and we had 3 young ladies, and they were overdosed. And these are all students. We have hundreds of thousands of students in Boston, and I've always felt that students had been particularly picked out for so-called drug lords. I mean, take a look at the 14-year-olds in school and the high school kids. Anyway, I don't want to go further on that, but I felt that was very, very sad. Now, I left the lights on before we left the place, because she's going to be coming in. Don't want her coming into a dark apartment, would you? Whenever Christmas comes along, these people are going to think about what happened at Christmas time. Same about the other stories I just told you. It was an unidentified incident. That's what that was called. Another time, this was a Friday afternoon, and it was about 4 o'clock. The previous one was 4 o'clock. And I called to an unidentified incident. Now, about 3 o'clock that afternoon, I was looking out the window, and it began to snow. So we were called about 4 o'clock and said, "Respond to this address here." And there was a rotary here. So we walked up to it, we're looking all around, and we saw nothing. In fact, they were all automobiles parked up along here, and there were a lot of apartments, families with like duplex housing. So in other words, you had 2 apartments in each building. And there were about 40 of them, the same way across the street here. Same way, automobiles were right in the driveway. So we looked all around, there's nothing going on. And then someone said, "Hey, what's over here?"